Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, baka nag-aantay sila ng link. Sa amin po sa production, ma'am, hihintay sila eh. Pero nagbigay na po ako ng instruction, pasok po sila sa Bataan Science Channel eh.
Magandang umaga po sa ating mga attendees, and of course, good morning din sa iyo, my partner, Ma'am Delpa. You know what, Ma'am Delpa, I'm so excited for today. This is my first time na maging moderator sa isang webinar na katulad nito. And also excited din ako para sa ating mga participants. Because for sure, this morning ay magiging productive para sa ating mga teacher and also magiging remarkable. Marami silang matututunan ngayon mula sa ating invited facilitators.
Yes, partner. At syempre, magandang umaga din sa iyo. Alam mo, partner, isa lang ang wish ko for this morning. Nawa ay makisama sa atin ang internet connection. In Jesus' name, amen. Good morning, fellow teachers. Thank you very much for joining us today. This webinar is brought to us by the Schools Division of Bataan through the leadership of our Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Romeo M. Alit, and our Science Education Program Supervisor, Dr. Edwin Riel Bermilio. Next, partner.
Webinar, mga kasama, we invited 3 of the best teachers from Select Junior High School of Bataan. Ang una po nating facilitator will discuss about the anatomy of plants and animals. The second facilitator will tackle about the sexual and asexual reproduction. At ang pangatlo po nating facilitator will give us some points about the different teaching strategies in science. So yan po ang ating mga lesson or mga presentation this morning sa ating webinar.
Yes, kaya naman partner, excited na rin ako na makita yung mga presentations ng ating magagaling na facilitators. Alam natin, piling-pili ang mga iyan, at talaga namang mahuhusay. Siyempre, magiging fruitful yung ating activity for this day. Partner, siguro habang hinihintay pa natin yung iba pa nating attendees, yung mga participants natin, pwede muna tayong magpa-shoutout.
Alright.
Para naman ma-relax ang lahat. Okay, partner, simulan mo.
Ladies first, partner.
Okay. So, hello sa lahat ng science teachers ng Maribeles National High School Poblasyon sa pangunguna ng aming napakasipag na science coordinator, Ma'am Mary Ann S. Aclado. Salazar, si Ma'am. Yes.
Okay, so ako, unahin ko namang shout out ang aking pinakamamahal na head ng EC Bernabe National High School, Ma'am Julieta Agkawili. Ma'am, good morning po. Mabash ako ni Ma'am pag di ko binate. Good morning, Ma'am.
Good morning, Ma'am. At syempre naman, partner, welcome natin for this morning ang ating Science Education Program Supervisor. Good morning, Sir Edwin.
Ayan, si Sir, nakatutok po lagi yan, Ma'am. Good morning po, Sir. And also to the Science Department, Ma'am Salvi Dagdag and Principal Ma'am Judy Umanya. Shout out po sa kanila. Good morning po. Nakatutok din po sa atin yan.
Okay. Good morning din po sa lahat ng faculty and staff ng Uranic National High School Parang-Parang.
At syempre pa, hindi po pa uhuli. Nagpapabati po ang ating mga kasama mula sa Mabayo High School. Ang kanilang pong principal, Ma'am Melody P. De Losario. Sama niyo na rin po si Ma'am Rubina Astorias Rosuelo. Good morning po, Ma'am.
At syempre naman, sir, ang aking napakasipag na school administrator, ang aming principal, Sir Cesar Valenzuela. Good morning po, sir.
Syempre, shout out din at good morning din po sa inyo mga taga Hermosa National High School. Good morning po. Ang kanila pong head, si Dr. Raycor Sakdalan. Ma'am, good morning po.
Good morning, Ma'am Sakdalan.
And all the science teacher of Hermosa National High School.
At syempre, partner, kailangan nating kumustahin lahat ng mahuhusay na science teachers ng Bataan.
Yes. Good morning po sa inyo mga ka-science.
Yes, sa mga kasiyensya natin, mga kaagham.
So ma'am, kayo anong preparation po ang ginawa niyo this morning?
Alright, so siguro sir, remind natin sila sa ating attendance link. Ano po? So para maging kompleto yung participation natin for this day, kailangan ma-fill out natin yung ating attendance. So mamaya, yung attendance link natin ay ipopost sa ating chat box.
Okay, so Ma'am Ayla, partner.
Yes.
Ano naman pong preparation ang ginawa niyo for this webinar?
Alam mo sir, ang ginawa ko lang, na-recall ko lahat ng mga learnings na natutunan natin kay Sir Edward Antonio. Shout out sa iyo sir, napakahusay mong mentor at eto nga after ng training, kami naman ay nasalang na sa pagiging moderator. Maraming salamat, Sir Edward. Ano po ang aking kumpare?
Sir Edward, good morning po. Ako naman ma'am, maaga akong gumising for maaga nag-breakfast, nag-coffee, at talaga excited ako maging moderator. This is my first time na maging moderator. Ano po? Iba po pala talaga pagka online compared to pag-MC. Ano po? So sana maging successful tayo at maging productive tayo as moderators for today.
Amen. In Jesus' name, makisama nawa ang internet connection. Okay, remind ko rin partner, ilang attendance link ang ipo-forward sa ating chat box. Siyempre, kailangan din na masagutan ng ating mga attendees yung ating assessment tool, yung ating post-assessment. Kasama yan sa requirements for completion.
So Ma'am Delpa, I think the participants are now ready to listen to our speakers and acquire new learnings. So maybe we could start our program.
Alright, this is it, partner. Good morning, Bataan. I'm Delpa Tidabu from Maribeles National High School Poblacion, moderator.
And I'm Leonardo Emma Pales of EC Bernabe National High School, also your moderator for today.
Yes, partner. So welcome to the Division Webinar Series on Science Content and Teaching Strategies in the context of the most essential learning competencies for grade 7 teachers.
So to start with, let us sing the Philippine National Anthem to be followed right away by a prayer through an audio-visual presentation.
Pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang mag-ibig, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay.
You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. My feet may fail, fear surrounds me. You never fail, and you won't stop now. So I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, you are my spirit. Me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. And take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. And my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. And take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. And my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Oh Jesus, I will call upon your name. Keep my eyes above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace. I am yours, and you are mine.
To give us an opening remarks, would you please join me in welcoming the man of science education in Bataan, our energetic and ever-supportive science education program supervisor, no other than Dr. Edwin Riel Bermillo. Good morning, sir.
Happy New Year, everyone. My respect and greetings to our school's division superintendent, Dr. Romeo M. Alip, to our assistant schools division superintendent, Sir William Roderick Falyorin, to our curriculum implementation division chief, Dr. Milagros M. Peñaflor, to the program management team, learning facilitators, science teachers from grade 3 to senior high school, including alternative learning system, to our dearest students and parents, magandang buhay po sa ating lahat. Positive feedbacks were received from the first wave of our webinar as a good start that signified that the science department could conduct webinar in the different grade levels from grade 3 to senior high school using this platform and live stream at Bataan Science Channel. Expectedly, the task of teachers will be more challenging than before, considering that in this new normal setting, we in the SDO Bataan need to embark appropriate strategies and approaches to be able to realize our desire to make science education continue amidst this health crisis. This second wave of our webinar series is aiming again to enhance the content knowledge and pedagogical skills of our science teachers as necessary preparation for us to effectively deliver the most essential learning competencies and skills to our teachers and learners for the second quarter. This webinar series is only part of what we intend to do under the new normal to augment the educational needs of our students. It is a perfect tool that offers a myriad of information on science content, teaching strategies, and innovation in support to science curriculum that will help them to adapt to changes in the latest teaching and learning system under the new normal. To our learning facilitators and program management team, thank you very much for accepting this challenge. I know we can do this with God's grace, and we will be able to survive and face the whole new world of educational learning experience with confidence, integrity, and most of all, with the different competencies that we have. Maraming salamat po sa lahat. God bless everyone. Keep safe po.
All right, so thank you very much, Sir Edwin, for the insights. You know what, partner? I really admire our EPS, Sir Edwin, for always supporting us. And as one of the pillars of our division, is like a father to us. That even in this time of pandemic, ay talaga namang napaka-supportive ni Sir sa atin. Our division's office still find ways for our teachers so that we cannot stop training in science, especially sa atin pong mga kaduruan sa Bataan. So maraming salamat po, Sir Edwin, for being a father to us. Thank you, sir. So, Ma'am Delpa.
Yes po.
Mustahin muna natin yung ating mga participants and attendees. Marami
yes,
na ba?
Sir. Kumain po natin sila sa ating attendance link. Again, ang ating pong attendance link ay ipopost sa chat box. Pakiantabayanan po natin at mangyari po lamang na ito ay i-fill out para sa completion ng ating pong training for this day. Ano pa?
Okay.
Ng ating participation.
So, partner.
Yes, partner.
After we heard the message of our EPS, let us now have the message naman of our beloved CID chief. Let us all welcome Dr. Milagros M. Peñaflor.
Hello everybody, good to be with you again after the first quarter. Here we go to the next station, the second quarter. Thanks to you, my dear science teachers, for the continuous effort of providing our learners with skills not only for mastery, but most importantly, for developing higher order skills on critical thinking and creativity. My gratitude to our science supervisor, Dr. Edwin Barbillo, for all the initiatives. This move really provides our unit, the Curriculum Implementation Division, a great help in realizing its goal of providing basic education services to our clienteles. On behalf of our Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Romeo M. Alip, I would like to congratulate the Science Department, our teachers, our department heads, our principal science coordinators for improving science instruction that eventually lead to improving learner performance. Thank you for all your efforts. Congratulations and God bless us all.
Thank you so much to our CID Chief for that very inspiring message. You really inspired us to strive against pandemic, to ensure the continuity of learnings through creative and innovative ways of designing optimal learning experiences. Again, thank you, Dr. Peñaflor.
All right, so partner, before we proceed to the highlights of this activity, again, magbigay na ulit tayo ng mga paalala sa ating mga participants and attendees.
Yes, partner. Okay, yung attendance link natin, wag po nating kakalimutan. Okay, ipopost po yan sa ating pong box.
First of all, we would like to check if our audio is clear. Ako po ba, malinaw sa inyo, Ma'am Delpa?
Yes, partner.
Well, I hope it's clear for everyone. And also, I hope that we will have a very stable internet connection for the next 2 to 3 hours so that we can get to enjoy a clear and audible presentation of our speakers and facilitators. Para naman po sa mga concern, ma'am, para naman po sa mga concern ng ating mga attendees, you can send it to our chat box kung kayo po ay may concern.
Yes. Alright. So, lahat po ng inyong comments, reactions, okay, questions, yung mga queries po natin, just comment down. Okay, nandyan po ang ating pong chat box. Okay, at yan po ay bibigyan natin ng katugunan. So, partner, ilan na kaya ang ating attendees? So far, ilan na kaya ang ating participants? Okay, so more or less 50, no? Nawa ay madagdagan pa. Okay, so kailangan ma-forward ang link sa kinauukulan. Sayang naman ang pagkakataon. Okay, nakapag-gain sila ng knowledge. Ang gagaling ng ating mga facilitators. So kailangan masaksihan nila ito, no? At syempre, kinakailangan din na suportahan natin ang ating Bataan Science Channel. So live na live tayo, partner, via Bataan Science Channel, via Zoom.
Yung asawa ko nga po nanonood ngayon eh.
Yes, okay, good. Ever supportive, no, sir?
Yes. So ma'am, muling shout out po ako, no? Pwede po pa ba? Sa aking mga kasama sa EC Bernabe National High School, Bagak. Good morning po mga kaguro dyan sa EC Bernabe.
Good morning po sa inyong lahat.
Ayun ma'am, sino pa po po?
Alright, at syempre. Okay. So, shout out po sa lahat ng teachers ng Hermosa National High School. Good morning po sa inyong lahat.
Alright, so let us now proceed in showcasing the expertise of our grade 7 science teachers towards scientific literacy? Simulan na po natin, Ma'am Delpa.
Alright, so our first facilitator is a Teacher 3 of Orani National High School, Parang-Parang. And to deepen our understanding on the content of animal and plant cell organelles, my dear teachers, please welcome Ma'am Rosalyn C. Flores.
Pleasant morning to each and every one from the teachers of SDO Bataan. I'm Miss Rosalyn C. Flores of Orani National High School, Parang-Parang. I will be discussing plant and animal cell organelles. But before that, let us have a quick preview and discussion about cell. So may I request everyone to get piece of paper and pen. I will give you 10 seconds for you to answer each question, then answer will follow. Let us start with question number 1. I hope we have refreshed our minds with the review that we had a while ago. Let us have this set of activity by arranging the level of organization in human body from complex to simplest. Answers are organism, organ system, organ, tissue, and cell. Thus, from the level of organizations of human body, the simplest component of living organism is cell. Cytology is a branch of science which deals with the structure, function, and chemical reaction going on inside the cells. Organelles means little organs. Organelles are specialized parts of the cell that needs a specific job to perform. It is also the foundation of all organisms. Let us examine a eukaryotic cell more closely. Eukaryotic cell contains three basic structures, namely cell membrane, cytoplasm with organelles, and nucleus. Plant cells and animal cells are both eukaryotic cells because they have the true nucleus which contains DNA and enclosed by nuclear membrane, make it to be separated from the other organelles. Both cell types reproduce in similar methods which comprise mitosis and meiosis. Respiration is the process in which plant cells and animal cells gain energy in order for them to grow and sustain the usual cellular function. Cells are affected by phospholipid bilayer of cell membrane that surrounds the cell and function as gate, which allows the entry and exit of molecules from it. For plants, it pushes out against the cell wall to maintain cell shape. The phospholipid bilayer of cell membrane comprises of heads which contains glycerol and phosphate are hydrophilic, which attracted to water, and its tails are made up of fatty acids which are hydrophobic that repels water. These move laterally to allow small molecules of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water to enter the cell. Proteins are also visible in the cell. Fluid mosaic model describes fluid nature of lipid bilayer with protein. Cell membrane proteins help move large molecules or aid in cell recognition. There are two types of cell membrane proteins. The peripheral proteins are attached on the surface, while integral proteins are embedded completely through the membrane. Cell membrane proteins include channels or transporters that moves molecules in one direction, receptors which recognize certain chemicals, glycoprotein help identify cell type, and enzyme that catalyze production of substances.
All cells have an outer membrane, called a plasma membrane, which acts as a boundary between the outside and inside of a cell. Cell membranes are primarily made of phospholipids, which are large lipid molecules, similar to triglycerides. Like triglycerides, they contain glycerol and fatty acids, but they differ from triglycerides in that they have a phosphate group, rather than a fatty acid, attached to the third carbon of glycerol. The phosphate head of the molecule is hydrophilic, or water-loving. This means that it interacts well with water. The fatty acid tails, however, are hydrophobic, or water-hating, and do not interact well with water. Because of these unique properties, when placed in a liquid environment, phospholipids tend to arrange themselves into a phospholipid bilayer, so that only the hydrophilic heads interact with a watery environment, and the hydrophobic tails crowd inward, away from the water. The plasma membrane of a cell also contains other molecules that aid in its function. There are a number of different proteins embedded in a membrane, and they serve a variety of functions. Some are involved in the transport of substances across the membrane, while others help in cell-to-cell communication. Short chains of sugars are attached to the outer surface of some of these proteins, forming glycoproteins, which serve as recognition signals to other cells. Cholesterol is present in the membrane as well. Cholesterol lends support to the membrane and regulates fluidity, giving the membrane the general consistency of olive oil. The phospholipids, proteins, glycoproteins, and cholesterol are all present in the membrane as a flexible pattern, commonly referred to as the fluid mosaic model. Together, these components of the cell membrane allow the cell to interact with its external environment.
Doors of house act like cell membrane. by keeping family members safe from unwanted visitors. Similarly, windows keep out unwanted heat and cold. Cytoplasm is a viscous fluid containing organelles. The components of cytoplasm are interconnected filament and fibers, also cytosol as a fluid part of the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm provides a medium for chemical reaction to take place. Air that circulates in the house is like cytoplasm because it surrounds everything and it's always there. Nucleus is the largest organelle and the most inner compartment of the cell. It contains genetic information in the strands called chromosome. It controls cell reproduction and metabolism. A nucleus is like human brain because they both control all parts of the cell. Similarly, nucleus is like the principal of the school because he or she controls the school activities. Nuclear envelope is a double membrane that separates nucleus from the rest of the cell. It controls movement of materials in and out of the nucleus. Nuclear pore is a small opening on the nuclear envelope which controls the material that enters and leaves the nucleus. Chromatin is tangled spread out form of DNA found inside the nuclear membrane when a cell is ready to divide. DNA condenses in the structure known as chromosomes. Nucleoplasm is a semi-fluid portion of the nucleus. It dissolves substances that surrounds the chromatin. Nucleolus are structures where ribosomes are made. Cells may have 1 to 3 nucleoli. It is also the ribosome factory of the cell, composed of protein and nucleic acid. Endoplasmic reticulum forms an interconnected network of tubules and vesicles. Its function is to transport protein throughout the cell. There are two types of endoplasmic reticulum, the rough endoplasmic reticulum with attached ribosomes and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum that contains enzyme which helps build molecules. The endoplasmic reticulum also synthesizes the carbohydrates and lipids. The endoplasmic reticulum is like the subway. Each transports its passenger from one place to another. The main purpose of Golgi body is for shipping and packing station of the cell. It starts when molecule comes with vesicles, then vesicle fuse with Golgi body membrane, and molecules may be modified by Golgi, then molecules pinch up in separate vesicles. Vesicles then leave Golgi body, and vesicles may combine with plasma membrane to secrete content. Golgi body is like the post office. Both send materials to other areas. Ribosomes make protein. It is a small complex assembly of protein and ribonucleic acid, often bound to endoplasmic reticulum and throughout the cytoplasm. The ribosomes are like chef or cook in the school because they make food, just like ribosome makes protein. Mitochondria is known to be the powerhouse of the cell, bound by a double membrane and have their own DNA. It is not a part of endomembrane system of eukaryotic cell. This is an extensive intracellular membrane which divides the cell into structurally and functionally distinct compartments or organelles. It breaks down food molecules which use for cellular respiration, which releases adenosine triphosphate or ATP, turning the food into usable energy. 1/6 of the energy derived from the sun is used by the plants, and remaining energy goes to human beings and animals in the form of sugar and carbohydrates and forms their food. A generator or electric control panel is like mitochondria because it distributes energy to the different parts of the house. Cytoskeleton is made up of three fiber types, namely microfilament, microtubule, and intermediate filament, which are used in the mechanical support, anchor organelle, and help move substances. Microtubule and microfilament made up centriole, which is used in cell division. Microtubules are used to build cilia and flagella. The wall frame and the studs in the house work like the cytoskeleton because it supports all the walls and roof system. Vacuole is a membrane-bound storage sac that stores water, food, and waste. Plant cells usually have a large central vacuole that helps maintain a turgor in the plant. A closet acts like vacuole because it temporarily stores clothes and shoes while we don't wear them. And here are the other organelles specific for animal cells. Lysosome contains digestive enzyme which aid cell renewal, break down old cell parts, and digestive invaders. It is also called suicide sac because the rupturing of the lysosome will cause the cell to destroy itself. Centriole usually found in eukaryotic cells. Centrioles are cylindrical structure organelles composed of microtubules. In cell, centrioles aid in cell division by facilitating the separation of chromosome. For this reason, it can be located near the nucleus. Cilia and flagella provides motility. Contains bundles of microtubules with plasma membrane. Cilia is a short structure of hair used to move substance outside human cells. Flagella is a whip-like extension found on sperms and basal bodies like centrioles. And here are the other cell organelles for plant cells. Cell wall is found in plants, fungi, and many protists. It surrounds plasma membrane. For plants, cell wall is composed mostly of cellulose, while in fungi it contains chitin. Cell wall is arranged in layers and contains cellulose, microfibrils, hemicellulose, pectin, lignin, and soluble protein. These components are organized in three major layers: the primary wall or cell wall, the middle lamella, and the secondary cell wall. This is a rigid wall that surrounds the cell, keeping the organelles contained and protected within it. Bricks from the outside of the house are like walls of cell because they make house stronger and more durable. Plastids, container of pigment and food storage. Chloroplast is an important organelle containing the green pigment called chlorophyll, which is responsible for capturing and converting light energy to conduct photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the food-making process of plants. Similarly, with mitochondria, it is also not a part of endomembrane system of the cell. The chloroplast is like solar converter. It captures energy and uses it to power the cell. Chromoplast holds the other pigment of plants such as carotenoid, xanthophyll, and anthocyanin, while leucoplasts are colorless plastids which stores starch and fats. cell considered as the basic functional and structural unit of life? It is because cell contains hereditary information which is passed on from cell to cell during cell division. All cells are basically the same in chemical composition and metabolic activities. All basic chemical and physiological function are carried out inside the cells, and cell activity depends on the activities of subcellular structures within the cell. Now, with the use of the Venn diagram, let us summarize the differences and similarities of cellular structure of plant and animal cell. And here are the answers. For our takeaway, let me read to you the quotation of John Dewey, and he quote, "Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. Through education, it can promote total growth, recognizes individual differences, and lastly, education is practical and functional. It is through education that we can be able to adapt and adopt. In the changing world, education is vital to humanity to mitigate most of the challenges in life." And here are my references.
Yes, partner. Kumusta po? Okay pa ba ang internet connection mo?
Alright, thank you very much, Ma'am Rosalyn Flores. So marami akong napulot na naman about the anatomy of plants and animal cells. So mga natandaan ko sa sinabi ni Ma'am Rosalyn, a plant cell contains a large singular vacuole that is used for the storage and maintaining the shape of the cell. Yan po mga sinabi ni Ma'am Rosalyn. And also, plant cell have cell wall as well as cell membrane.
Yes.
Cells simply have cell membrane but no cell wall. Ang isa sa or ilan sa mga natandaan kong diniscuss or pinresent ni Ma'am Rosalyn. Rosalyn, thank you po.
Partner, patunay yan ha, na nakinig kang mabuti.
Yes.
Okay, ako partner, talagang na-refresh ako doon sa importance ng cell. So sabi nga natin, cell is the basic unit of structure and function of life. So if we consider the appearance of cell, it is very, very small, such a minute, no, in appearance. Pero sabi nga natin, it plays a very important role in the survival of life. Okay.
Lalo na sa akin, ma'am. Alam niyo, Ma'am Delpa, before ang hawak ko grade 10.
Oh,
So, this year, nalipat ako sa grade 7. So, para sa akin, magandang recall ang mga diniscuss ni Ma'am Rosalyn. Thank you po, Ma'am Rosalyn.
Thank you, Ma'am Rosalyn.
I hope yung mga attendees natin and participants din, ano po, na-recall po kayo ng mabuti ni Ma'am Rosalyn.
Yes.
Tuloy lang po tayo sa pakikinig. Later on, we will have our next facilitator. So, Ma'am Delpa.
Yes. So, may pa-shout out muna ulit tayo, partner. Okay?
Yeah.
Hello sa lahat ng science teachers ng Mabayo High School. Gayon din po sa Morong National High School, Junior High School Science Department. Good morning po sa inyong lahat.
Eto, nagpapa-shoutout. Sinat ako ng mga estudyante ko. I'd like to say hi sa aking mga estudyante, 7C3. Hinahanap nila ako kayo kasi may klase kami. Sabi ko, meron ako special assignment for today, so manood muna sila.
Wala akong masabi, partner. So pati ang mga estudyante mo, no, naka-focus ngayon. Okay? So dahil tayo ay live na live, so mas marami silang matututunan sa araw na ito. Alright, so moving on, partner.
Alright, so wala na po tayong shout out. Let us now proceed to our second presenter. Our next presenter is about to discuss the sexual and asexual reproduction. Let's hear it from Nina Rosie Basco, Teacher 1 of Maribeles National High School, Alas Asin. Take it away, Ma'am Basco.
Good morning to my fellow teachers. This is Nina Rosie Basco, Teacher 1 from Maribeles National High School, Alas Asin. I am the second speaker for today, and we're going to tackle about the process on how the organisms reproduce. New life is formed. Have you ever wondered how organisms are made? What process makes an organism to reproduce? The answer is reproduction. Reproduction is the process by which organisms give rise to a new organism or offspring. It is one of the defining characteristics of living things. Let's observe these two pictures. What do you think is the similarity of these two pictures? As we can see on this first picture, there is a parent, which is the mother, and offspring, which is the baby. On the second picture, we can see that there are lots of flowers, and one of these flowers can be a parent, and the others can be its offspring. We can also say that both organisms undergo to the process called reproduction. How about their differences? We can see on this first picture that there is a difference or variation between the baby and the mother. On the second picture, there is no variation because the parent and the offspring are exactly look alike. After knowing their similarities and differences, we infer that organisms reproduce differently to one another. Let's now address the differences between sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Let's start differentiating these two in terms of the number of parents. In sexual reproduction, two parents are needed in reproduction, or it is called biparental. In humans, we need a father or male parent and a mother or female parent, while in asexual reproduction, one parent is enough. Why do we need two parents in sexual reproduction and only one parent in asexual reproduction? The answer is directly related to our next factor, which is gametes. Gametes are also called sex cells, which can be either sperm cell from male parent or egg cell from female parent. These two work together or they unite to form a new organism or an offspring. And the process of uniting these two cells is called fertilization. That's why the presence of gametes is another distinguishing factor between sexual and asexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, gametes are formed, while in asexual reproduction, gametes are not formed. If gametes are not formed in asexual, then how do they reproduce? We will find out later. Sexual and asexual can also be distinguished based on the nature of genetic material. We know that in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved with their egg cell and sperm cell. Therefore, the nature of genetic material is intermixed with both parent, while on the other hand, same genes are present from the parent to its offspring. Another difference lies in the involvement of reproductive organs. From the word itself, reproductive organs are organs used during reproduction or during mating. In sexual reproduction, reproductive organs are used. Can you still remember the parts of human reproductive system? I have an illustration here. This picture shows the human reproductive system. If you are a boy, you will have the male organs, and if you are a girl, you will have the female organs. Let's start with the male reproductive system. As you can see, there are many parts which interplay in order to nourish the sperm. While in female organs, there are also parts working together to produce healthy egg cells. Both male and female reproductive system are important for life to occur. Take note that in sexual reproduction, male and female organs are used. In asexual, no reproductive organs are used. By now, we already observed that sexual reproduction is more complex compared to asexual reproduction, and this greatly affects the rate of reproduction. In sexual reproducing animals, just like humans and other multicellular organisms, the rate of reproduction is slow. In fact, in humans, it takes 9 months to fully develop a baby before it is delivered. It takes 13 to 15 months in camel, 15 to 16 months in walruses, 17 months in dolphins, and 18 to 22 months in elephants. While in asexual reproducing organisms like bacteria, there is a rapid reproduction. For example, on this picture, there is a bacteria, and this bacteria reproduce through binary fission. In binary fission, a single bacterium doubles its DNA, then splits to form 2 new organisms. It's very easy and it is very fast. That's why more organisms are produced. If we're going to compare it in 9 months, only 1 baby is formed except for twins. But normally, 1 baby is formed. In bacteria, 9 months generate 1,968,329,944 new bacteria, and that's a big difference. So what are the sample organisms that undergo sexual and asexual reproduction? In sexual reproduction, as I said a while ago, it occurs almost in all types of multicellular organisms, just like humans, animals, and higher plants, just like this dog, mango tree, and humans. On the other hand, it occurs mostly in prokaryotic microorganisms, which are too small to be seen by our naked eye, and some eukaryotic unicellular organisms, lower invertebrates, and lower plants. Examples are this bacillus bacteria, this protozoa, and lower plant like this potato, which is a tuber. After differentiating the 2 types of reproduction, let's explore more about asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, in a nutshell, occurs when a cell grows and doubles its chromosomes and undergo a series of changes until it divides into new daughter cells. It is also a way in which organisms reproduce by cell division, or we call it as mitosis. Let's now move on to the different types of asexual reproduction. We have binary fission, budding, fragmentation, regeneration, spore formation, and vegetative propagation. Binary fission. This type of asexual reproduction is commonly seen in bacteria, archaea, and protozoa. It is simply the division of parent cell to produce 2 daughter cells. We have 2 types of binary fission, and the first one is the transverse fission, and the second one is the longitudinal fission. In this example, we can see a paramecium undergoing transverse fission. In transverse, the organisms divide into two equal halves in transverse plane, or it divides crosswise. On the other hand, in longitudinal fission, organisms divide into two equal halves in longitudinal plane, or it simply divides lengthwise. For example, in this picture, we can see that Euglena undergoes longitudinal fission. Next, let's have budding. Budding is commonly seen in unicellular organisms like yeast and some simple multicellular organisms like Hydra. In this picture, we can see a Hydra. In this process, buds are formed from the parent cell or body to grow into new individual. This is the bud or outgrowth. It will grow until new Hydra is formed. The buds may separate from parent to live as another organism, or it may remain to its parent to form a colony, but in this case, the buds separate. Our next type is fragmentation. It is commonly seen in sponges and flatworms. In these organisms, the parent body breaks or fragments into several pieces, and these pieces or fragments develop into new organisms. In this picture, if the flatworm divides, the upper half with no tail and the lower half with no head will form into new organisms. Our next type is commonly seen in animals. It is regeneration. In regeneration, the organism regrows a lost body part. Starfish is one of the examples. If one leg of a starfish has cut, it will grow into a new part. For example, in this picture, the 3 legs are cut, and these 3 will grow into a new legs. Next is spore formation. Spore formation is commonly known as multiple fission, and it is usually seen in bread molds, mosses, and ferns. In the left side, we can see a rhizopus undergoing spore formation by growing a sporangium, which contains the spore, which are then scattered in the environment to form a new rhizopus or new bread molds. In the right side, we can see a fern. The brown circles that we can see on the underside of the fern are called sorus. This sorus is actually a cluster of sporangium containing the spores, and kapag kumalat na sa environment, it will form into new ferns. Our first 5 types are commonly observed in animals. Our last type of asexual reproduction is exclusive for plants. We have certain plants that are reproducing asexually. It involves the process of vegetative propagation. I will introduce some methods of vegetative propagation. The first is stem cutting. This is the most common method of asexual reproduction in plants. It is just simple. When you cut something, for example, you cut a rose, and you plant it on a moist soil, roots will form in the lower half, and new shoot will form from nodes in upper half. Our next example is grafting. Grafting is another common method in vegetative propagation. In grafting, there are some terms that we need to be familiarized. First, we have scion. Scion is a branch or bud from a desirable plant which is attached to another stem or root system of a stock plant with other desired characteristics. So in grafting, you are combining desirable characteristics from different plants. This method is important if you want to improve the quality of economically useful plants. Tomato grafting is an example. Tomato grafting has one of become famous because it reduces diseases and it improves tolerance in stress, flooding, excessive heat, and excessive saltiness or salinity. We have some plants which can develop new types through their underground stem, and they are called as tubers. Potato is a tuber, and this tuber has eyes which are actually nodes that can grow to a new plant. Kapag pinabayaan mo ang potato for a long time, nodes will grow into a new plant. Another vegetative propagation is through stolons. Stolons are slender or maninipis na stem sa mga plants. Ang stolon ay gumagapang sa soil, and once a stolon touches a moist soil, it will grow into new roots and new leaflets for a new plant, just like in the picture. Strawberry is an example of stolon. Lastly, we also have specialized leaves, which is used in reproduction. In this picture, a katakataka leaf has plantlets around its border, and when these plantlets fall to the ground and the soil has enough nutrients, these plantlets will grow into a new katakataka plant. Those are just some common types of asexual reproduction, and these types fall in advantages and disadvantages. What are the advantages? More offspring is produced in lesser time, and it saves energy for mating. In asexual reproduction, one organism is enough for a new organism to grow. Because of the same genetic material to offspring, it is dangerous if there's a factor which is not favorable to them. The entire species will wipe out and they will extinct. Let's now explore the process of sexual reproduction in animals. There are two steps in sexual reproduction. The first one is gametogenesis, and the second one is fertilization. Gametogenesis is the process of producing gametes or sex cells, while fertilization is the union of sperm cell and egg cell to form a zygote and then a new organism. Gametogenesis can be either form sperm cell in male, in the process called spermatogenesis, or egg cell in female, and the process of forming egg cell is called oogenesis. In spermatogenesis, a diploid spermatogonium undergoes a series of division. When we say diploid, it is a cell that contains 46 chromosomes in humans. In the first part of division, the cell forms into two haploid cells, which contains 23 chromosomes each. In the second part of division, the two haploid cells form into 4 haploid cells, and these 4 are sperms. As we can see, the number of chromosomes in the first part divides, while in the last part, it remains the same because of the process called meiosis. In oogenesis, same thing happens. There is also a diploid oogonium which divides to form 2 haploid cells, and each containing 23 chromosomes, and it undergoes another division, forming 4 new cells. These 3 become polar bodies, and only one can develop as an egg cell. Through gametogenesis, we already have one sperm cell which contains 23 chromosomes and one egg cell which also contains 23 chromosomes. These two will unite to form a zygote which has 46 chromosomes, and this zygote develops into embryo, to the fetus, and finally into a baby. There are some animals na nafe-fertilized ang egg outside the body at meron ding na-fertilize inside the body. For example, in frogs, external fertilization occur. In this picture, the two frogs are mating. The female frog releases its egg cell to the water outside, and the male frog releases its sperm cell so that it will fertilize the egg cell, and after that, zygote is formed and new frogs will grow. In contrast, there is a fertilization which occurs inside the body, and it is called as internal fertilization. One of the example is chicken. As you can see, the rooster deposits the sperm cell into the hen. When the sperm cell meets the egg cell, fertilization will occur and it will form into a zygote and a new organism. Just like chicken, humans are also undergo an internal fertilization. In male reproductive system, this part is called testis, which produces sperm cells. In female reproductive system, we have ovary that produces egg cell. During sexual intercourse, the sperm cells swim until it reaches the egg cell, and the first sperm cell that fertilized the egg cell combines with it, and it is called fertilization. The other sperm cells cannot fertilize the egg cell anymore. After that, the genetic material mixes and forms a zygote and develops an embryo into a fetus, and after 9 months, the baby is born. Let's now move on to sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Just like in animals, flowering plants have male and female reproductive system. Stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower. It consists of the anther and the filament. Carpel or pistil is the female reproductive part of the flower. The top part of the carpel is called stigma, and stigma is supported by the style. Base part of the carpel is the ovary. The anther produces pollen grains. Each mature pollen grain contains a tube cell consisting of a tube nucleus and 2 male gametes. Ovary contains 1 or more ovules. Each ovule has a female gamete. Flowers that contain both male and female reproductive parts are called bisexual flowers. Hibiscus or gumamela and rose are some examples of bisexual flowers. On the other hand, flowers that contain either male or female reproductive parts are called unisexual flowers. Papaya and watermelon are some examples of unisexual flowers. For fertilization to take place, pollen grains need to be transferred from the stamen to the stigma. If the transfer of pollen grains takes place in the same flower, then it is called self-pollination. If the transfer of pollen grains takes place from one flower to another, then it is called cross-pollination. This transfer of pollen grains is done by wind, water, insects, or animals. After the pollen grains lands on the stigma, the tube cell produces a pollen tube through the style into the ovule. The male gametes travel along with the tube nucleus through the pollen tube. After they reach the ovule, one of the male gametes fuses with the female gamete, leading to fertilization. Fertilization leads to the form of zygote. The other male gametes fuses with the polar nuclei to eventually form endosperm. The zygote divides multiple times to form an embryo within the ovule. The endosperm provides nourishment to the embryo. Eventually, the ovule develops and turns into a seed. And this ends my presentation. I hope that you learned something from me, and thank you for listening.
Well presented, Ma'am Basco. We have learned about a comparison between sexual and asexual reproduction. Again, thank you for sharing it with us.
All right, Ma'am Delpa.
Hello.
Thank you po,
Yes.
Ma'am Nina Rose. So from what I have heard from Ma'am Nina, sabi niya po, sexual reproductions just means combining genetic material from two parents. Yan po sinabi ni Ma'am. And also, asexual reproduction produces offspring genetically identical to one parent. So sa dinami-dami po ng na-discuss ni Ma'am, yan po ang isa sa mga natandaan ko po. At muli po, sinasabi ko po, magandang recall para sa akin. At I hope ganun din po sa ating mga participants na nakatutok pa rin ngayon. Meron na po tayong 7 participants. Sana dumamay pa habang wala pa yung ating third speaker. So shout out muli sa Ma'am.
Actually, Sir Leo, na-experience mo ba kapag yan ang lesson natin sa klase? Nako, live na live ang mga bata.
Go overtime ako, Ma'am, pag yan ang lesson.
Live na live din. Okay, makwento ko lang sa Leo. Okay, kapag yan ang lesson namin sa klase, isa si teacher sa masaya, no? Kasi meron akong gustong form of reproduction, yung asexual reproduction, yung tinatawag nating fragmentation. Okay, yan sabi ko sa mga bata. A crazy world of what if. Let's say, binigyan tayo ng chance na mag-undergo ng asexual reproduction. Siyempre, unang pipiliin ni teacher, fragmentation. Bakit? Teacher, bakit? Kasi pagka gusto kong paramihin si Ma'am Delpa, ayan, so pipira-pirasahin ko yung aking katawan at magpuproduce ako ng 100 na Ma'am Delpa. Naku, ang sasaya ng mga bata. Bakit kaya, sir? Ang sabi ng mga bata, Ma'am, dadami ang kulot sa mundo. Ang sagot ko naman, talaga ba? Ang sabi naman nila, syempre ma'am, mga kulot na mahusay magturo. Yan ang gusto kong marinig. Plus 5 po dyan.
Magaling na partner, ma'am.
Kaya mga bata talagang masayahin yan, ano? Pagdating sa reproduction. Alright, so partner, kailangan muna tayong magpa-shout out, ano? Okay, so shout out po sa lahat ng grade 7 students of Morong National High School, especially po yung kanilang 7th STE. Siyempre, hello din po sa lahat ng faculty and staff ng Luwak National High School. Yan. Din po sa Maribeles National High School, Alas Asin. Sir Leo, may pa-shoutout ka ba dyan?
Ako, ito, ang kukulit ng mga estudyante ko. Hello din sa ating sa dalawa ko pang section na hawak, no? 7 Aquamarine. Makinig lang kayo dyan, mga anak. And sa aking mga estudyante mula sa 7 Emerald. Ayan.
Good morning.
Good morning sa inyo, mga anak. And also to Ma'am Catherine Dinglasan, my co-teacher from Emilio C. Bernabe National High School. Parte po ng ating program management for today, Ma'am Cathy. Yan, nakatutok po si Ma'am Cathy Dinglasan.
Yes. Partner, so meron din tayo mga viewers from elementary school. Yan. So dahil gusto nila madagdagan ng kanilang learnings, okay, so sila din po ay naka-tune in. So, shout out po sa lahat ng elementary teachers ng Sisiman Elementary School. Okay, good morning, Ma'am Raquel. Okay, good morning po sa inyong lahat. Okay, thank you for your time at kayo po ay hindi nagsasawang madagdagan ang inyo pong kaalaman.
Yes, Ma'am Delta, muli. Paalala po ang ating chat box. Nandun po ang ating attendance form and evaluation. You can also use our chat box for your concern. Maliwanag po ba, Ma'am Delpa?
Yes, sir.
Malino po?
Ayan. So, medyo hina, no, ang ating signal. Pero God is good all the time. Okay, maayos yan, maya-maya. Alright, so, reminder po ulit doon sa ating attendance link. Okay, so kinakailangan na yan ay ma-fill out natin. Okay, tingin-tingin sa chat box. And remind ko rin yung ating mga attendees, mamaya meron po tayong post-assessment. Yan. So magandang assessment tool na inihanda ng ating program management team.
So, ano ma'am? Okay po ba kayo? Ano?
Yes, medyo humihina ang signal pero sabi nga natin ay medyo naayos na mabuti ang kilay, sir, na hindi na kailangan mag-retouch.
Okay.
Alright. Okay, so this time, our next facilitator will discuss about different teaching strategies which can be adapted in our science class. Now, to share with us her expertise in teaching strategies, let us welcome Ma'am Emelina F. Guson, Teacher 1 of Roosevelt National High School.
Isang magandang buhay mga kapwa guro. Ako nga po pala si Ma'am Ems ng Roosevelt National High School. Today, I will discuss the different strategies that we can use in our teaching process. Welcome po sa ating science webinar sa araw na ito. Marami sa ating mga guro ang nagtataglay ng iba't ibang pamamaraan o estratehiya sa pagtuturo. Pero ano nga ba itong teaching strategies na lagi nating binabanggit, nababasa o naririnig? Teaching strategies refers to the methods that we can use to help the students learn the desired course and help them to engage and practice different skill sets. It is very important because through this strategy, we can be able to get the attention of our students, especially that nowadays, our students' minds are corrupted by the utilization of different gadgets. And madali po silang maboring lalo na kung routinary lang ang ginagawa ng mga guro. Ginawa natin kahapon, gagawin pa ngayon, and then bukas, ganun din. So, isa po yan sa nakakapagpabagal ng kanilang pagkatuto. And also, we can be able to deliver our lesson properly. And this will improve our student skills and knowledge. There are different types of teaching strategies that we can use in our teaching process. And one of the first and common type is the cooperative learning. Cooperative learning is a systematically pedagogical strategy that encourages small groups of students to work together for the achievement of the common goal or target. This type is more effective compared to other strategies because each students are responsible for one's another learnings, and each of them can equally contribute to make the task a successful one. So, through cooperative learning, nakikipag-cooperate ang mga mag-aaral sa kanilang grupo at nagbabahagi ng iba't ibang kaalaman para ma-achieve ang goal or target ng isang activity na binigay ng kanilang mga guro. Kaya, ito ay napaka-effective. One of the example of cooperative learning is the think, pair, and share. It is an informal strategy, but this activity is really handy. So how we will do this activity? First, a teacher will raise a question, and each student has a time to think about the question. A student will be paired with another student
or a small group.
Then, the students share their thinking with their partner. Then after that, after they discussed with their partner, the teacher expands the share into a class discussion. So as you can see on the picture, so we have different steps. Think, pair, and share. Since our students are from grade 7, we can give them some simple question as a starter point for the whole activity that can trigger their mind. Like for example, how did the development of the microscope aid the study of cells? Or, what if the microscope had never been invented? So through this question, they can think more and they can share whatever they are thinking to the whole class. The think, pair, and share activity is very useful because it engages all students in their learning, and it can be done quickly during the lesson. It also allows the students to work together to solve a problem or to answer a given question. The second activity under cooperative learning is the number heads together. Number heads together is a cooperative learning strategy that holds its students accountable for learning the material by having students work together in a group. Upon doing this activity, binibigyan natin ng accountability ang bawat isang membro ng grupo. So, ibig sabihin nito, lahat ng grupo o lahat ng member ng isang grupo ay dapat makikooperate, makibahagi at magbahagi ng kanilang kaalaman. So, dapat kung ano man po yung question, topic, or problem na binigay ni teacher, lahat sila aware and prepared. Because there is a tendency that once their number will be called and the teacher will ask one of them to explain, so mag-explain talaga sila. Kaya nga sabi, number heads together. So, lahat sila dapat aware and prepared. How we will do this activity? First, divide the students into groups. Then, the teacher will pose a question or a problem to the class. Third step, have students gather to think about the question and make sure everyone in their group understand and can give an answer. Then the teacher will pose the question and call out a number randomly. The final step will be the class discussion. So to sum up the different steps, students are placed into groups and they will be given a particular number. They will gather to discuss about the teacher's question. Then once their number will be called, the group or one of the group member will share or discuss their output in front of the class. This activity is also useful because it allows students to discuss in small groups before going into a whole class discussion. It also helps the teacher to get its student engaged and involved in their learning. Kagaya nga ng sinabi ko kanina, dapat ang lahat ng member ng kada grupo ay maging accountable to learn and participate within the group. Because there is a tendency na kapag halimbawang tinawag yung kanilang number, isa sa kanila ang mag-explain ng output na kanilang nagawa. The third activity that can be done is the taxonomy of words. It is a very enjoyable and interesting group activity because each student will participate in giving words that are related to the given topic. This will help to improve the vocabulary words of each student. And this activity can be done individually or in group setting. Isa ito sa masayang activity na pwede natin gawin sa ating subject. Lalo na ngayon na ang mga bata ay puro techie na. Nakakalimutan na nila ang mga spelling or correct spelling ng iba't ibang salita. At the same time, yung mga terminologies na ginagamit sa iba't ibang subject. Lalo na syempre kapag science. So, sa science kasi masyadong madaming terminologies na dapat tandaan at aralin. So kapag halimbawang ginamit mo daw ang activity na ito, makakapag-develop ng kanilang vocabulary of words at the same time magiging familiar sila sa iba't ibang terminologies na related sa topic ng science. One of the important topic under second quarter for Science 7 is all about microscope. We as teacher can give this word as a starting topic, then the student will give a word or words related to this topic. Like for example, what word can be related to microscope that start with letter M? And the possible answer will be magnification. How about letter I? We can put Irish diaphragm. How about letter C? Of course, we can put course adjustment. Then, so on and so forth. So after giving the word or words related to the topic given by the teacher, then class discussion will follow. Isa din sa kagandahan ng activity na ito, minsan makakatuklas tayo ng mga bata na may mga alam na terminologies na hindi lahat ng bata ay may kaalaman. Minsan naman, may mga words na ibibigay ang mga bata na hindi related sa topic, pero dito nagsisimula ang palitan ng discussion ng klase. Kaya sabi ko nga kanina, ito ay isang enjoyable and interesting activity. Another activity is the freeze frame. Freeze frame is a cooperative learning activity applicable both for individual or group setup. It is more appealing to kinesthetic learners and allow all students to be creative while strengthening their comprehension of a concept. Kung meron tayong mga mag-aaral na more on academic ang mas develop sa kanila, meron din naman tayong mga mag-aaral na more on kinesthetic factor ang mas develop. Ito yung mga mag-aaral na magaling kumanta, magaling sumayaw, they are very good in acting, they are very good in expressing themselves through acting nga and singing or dancing. So, how they will do this activity? A student will create a still picture without talking to capture and communicate the meaning of a particular concept. Through this activity, the students can communicate using physical poses, gestures, and facial expression rather than saying words or rather than explaining a word or words. So, dito po, halimbawa sabi ng teacher, minsan ay bumagyo. Lumakas ang hangin. Nagiba ang mga puno. So, yung mga bata, pwede po nalang i-express yung sarili na while acting, while showing their facial expression towards dun sa activity na ibinigay ng teacher. So, ganun po yung freeze frame. Since freeze frame is similar to a tableau or a living picture activity, sa freeze frame, merong mga activity na kinakailangang naka-freeze lang yung mga estudyante while conducting the activity. Sometimes naman, kinakailangan ng mga slight movement ng mga mag-aaral habang ginagawa yung certain topic or certain situation na ipinapagawa ng teacher. That's why it's very applicable for grade 7 since they are more curious, more active, more participative in different activities. Hindi pa sila gaano nahihiya, kaya kayang-kaya nilang gawin yung mga activity na ipapagawa ng mga guro under freeze frame. To further explain what a freeze frame is, let us watch this video. This video is downloaded and used for educational purposes only.
Freeze frame. Freeze framing, sometimes known as tableau or still image, is a drama technique used to help focus on an important moment in a story. How? Ask the children to pick a character from a particularly memorable point in the story. Now, ask them to make still images with their bodies to represent that moment. Top tip: freeze framing is most effective when used with thought tracking, when the children speak their characters' thoughts aloud to show what they're thinking at that frozen moment. Ask them to describe what character their image represents, how they're feeling, what part of the story they came from.
Who are you?
I'm Theseus.
What can you see?
I can see the Minotaur.
What's around you?
The walls of the tunnel, really dark and smelly.
How do you feel right now?
Really scared, but really excited.
And what do you have in your hand?
My sword, ready to strike the Minotaur.
And you? I'm Theseus, looking out to sea on our way home. How do you feel right now? Happy that I killed the Minotaur and I'm going back home to tell everyone.
I'm Theseus, hanging from the grill about to drop into the tunnel. I'm very nervous because I don't know what's down there.
Now, arrange the children in chronological order of when their freeze frames happened in the story. In this way, you can clearly show both the narrative journey and the emotional journey of the character throughout the story.
So you can see, at different parts of the story, the character goes through many different feelings and emotions.
The children can also explore different points in the story in groups, creating a living story map. You could also take a snapshot or still image of the whole scene, exploring everything that is happening in the story at that one specific moment in time. Why? Freeze framing is one of the most flexible drama techniques and can be used to achieve many outcomes. It's very useful for deconstructing, humanizing, and getting under the skin of a character or of a specific moment. By having the children create their own interpretation of a scene, they get a greater understanding of what is affecting the characters and why they make the decisions they do in the story. Top tip. Remember, it's the discussion that comes from doing the freeze frames that is most important. 5 great reasons for freeze framing. Really helpful for understanding sequencing and narrative structure, exploring how a character develops and changes throughout a story, great opportunity for meaningful discussion, effective way to deepen the understanding of the story, which leads directly to better writing and performance.
Freeze framing can be used effectively with all ages.
The next teaching strategy is all about differentiated instruction. It allows teachers to engage each student by accommodating to their specific learning styles. Differentiated instruction should suit to the student's distinct aptitudes. When we say aptitudes, it is the natural ability of a person to do something. In this type of strategy, we should prioritize the provision of activities that will suit to the student's skills and abilities. Halimbawa po, kung may mga estudyante tayo na may kakayahang mag-analyze ng mga certain situation or experimentation in science, bigyan natin sila ng mga activity na suited for them. May mga bata rin naman tayo na magaling sa puzzle, may mga bata na much more on skill sila, na wherein kaya nilang gumawa ng mga model in science, kaya na lang mag-drawing, kaya na mag-sketch. So we should provide different activities for them. Kasi nga, ang differentiated instruction based on their distinct aptitudes. Differentiated instruction also involve different adjustment in content, processes, and product. When we say content, it focuses on the media and methods used by the teachers to impart and instruct skills, ideas, and information to the students. While processes, it focuses on the different exercises or practices that we provide for the students to better understand the content. When we say products, mostly it focuses on the materials such as tests and projects that we provide to test, to determine, and evaluate the learnings of our students, whether they mastered a certain competencies or not. One of the example activity for differentiated learning is the learning station. In this activity, each station should use a unique method of teaching a skill or concept related to your lesson. Those stations consist of different tasks to do by the students. Why do we need to implement learning stations in our class? First, it is engaging. Because through this activity, a student will engage to different activities provided by the teachers. Since mas madami silang nakikitang iba't ibang activity na pwede nilang gawin, mas nagiging interested sila to participate in the class. Next, it is a student-centered activity. Since most of the activities will be done by the students, we teacher will only guide them in doing the task given per station. Next, it is a collaborative activity because students can collaborate, can cooperate, and even share their ideas about the given task. Next, it is a way of chunking information because the activity are divided into different tasks wherein students can learn and understand the concept of the topic given by the teacher. Since learning station yon, may iba't ibang task per station, may iba't ibang objective na dapat gawin yung mga bata. At the same time, iba't ibang concept na dapat nilang matutunan per station. Next, fifth, it is a type of kinesthetic learning since it requires the students to manipulate or touch the material in order for them to learn. It is a good technique that uses the combination of visual